What's up, Boom Team? Welcome back to the podcast, episode 7. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, week, night, whatever you guys are doing right now. If you guys are having dinner, if you're driving to work, if you're doing whatever you want, if you're just chilling, listening to my podcast, I thank you so much for doing that, and I hope you guys are having a great time doing whatever it is. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We're at 961 total plays in the podcast history. We're almost to 1,000. That's awesome. And yeah, that's just fantastic. I was just looking at that as I was getting the episodes and everything all prepped up on Anchor, just so when I finish up the audio files on each of these, when I split them up, that I looked at that real quick and I saw we're at 961, and I was like, holy cow, like we're getting there. We're almost at 1,000. And yeah, it was something like something that really made my day when I saw that, because we had been sitting around 950 for a little bit, and then I had to take a break last week because things got a little hectic at work, so I had to do that, and I really missed doing the episode last week, and I really tried to make some time for it, but it didn't work out, unfortunately, and I hate when that happens. But that's life. I had a really good week this week in football. On top of that, I know every single episode of season 2 has been football oriented only. And I told you guys that I'm going to be reaching out to NBA and the MLB more, and I'm going to be doing that. The MLB probably not as much, because as I'm speaking right now, the World Series will be going on, and hopefully the Braves win. I'm a Red Sox fan. I hate the Astros. I know the Red Sox are kind of cheaters as well, but there was a lot of vagueness in that story that came out. But since the Astros are convicted cheaters and they knocked out my Red Sox, I'm not a huge fan. So I really hope the Braves win it tonight, because I also have a couple friends at work who are from Atlanta. So I'm really rooting for them, and I'm also rooting for Freddie Freeman. I read up on his story recently. Freddie Freeman is a player for the Braves, the Atlanta Braves, and he's been there for 11 years. And he's never made it to a World Series, and he finally did. The Braves got really close last year, but it was all for naught. And yeah, I'm hoping that he wins it, because if you're willing to stick around like that and really power through with a team, it shows that it's not always about money for you. It's not always about winning all the time. It's about loyalty. And I think if a player is that loyal for that long, that brings me to thinking of people like Larry Fitzgerald or Tom Brady when he was in New England. They had true loyalty to their team. And I really appreciate that when those kind of things happen, when those kind of players and those kind of stories come out. So yeah, I'm rooting for the Braves. I have a lot of NBA stuff in the works. I don't want you guys to think that I'm abandoning that. The NBA season just started a couple weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago now. My Celtics aren't doing that great right now. There's a little bit of animosity in the locker room, but that's here nor there. This is a whole podcast, not just a NBA one. I also uploaded on TikTok recently. That was about 2 weeks ago as well. I'm trying to kind of figure out things to put on there that would be interesting to the viewers who see them, and that would kind of draw you guys in more. But I had a lot of fun doing that. So go check that out. The TikTok is the same thing as the Instagram. It's just BoomTeam Podcast, all one word. You'll see the logo. It's just my purple lion logo. So give that a follow. Check out my video. Follow me on Instagram at BoomTeam Podcast. Once again, all one word, all lowercase. And then follow me personally at dakota.nutter. I had something really cool happen to me this week. So I'm not like an investor or anything, at least not like, at least I wasn't. And then I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw that Aaron Rodgers had put up a video saying that he had partnered with Cash App. Cash App is one of those apps where you can use to transfer money to, like, say, you and your friend go out to dinner and you don't have any cash on you. If they have Cash App and you have Cash App, you can send them money through the app. It's just like that. With Venmo, I believe PayPal, you can do it that way. And Cash App's a big one as well. But he had partnered up with Cash App because Aaron Rodgers donated like a certain number of his salary towards Bitcoin. And so what he did partly when he was doing that, he announced that, was that he was going to give away $1 million in Bitcoin. And so he said all you had to do was, like, I think it was comment like your Cash App name, use a certain hashtag, and then follow the Cash App Instagram account. And I thought, well, whatever. I mean, if I get something, that'd be cool. I didn't really think much of it. And then after work, I'm headed to the gym, and I look at my phone, and it says, Aaron Rodgers sent you like X amount in Bitcoin, and I was like, what? Like I freaked out. Because yeah, it's only it was only $100, but and it probably wasn't him personally that pressed the button to send it to me, but the fact that I had some sort of interaction with Aaron Rodgers, like personal social medias this week, was the coolest thing ever. I looked at that, I freaked out, I called my parents immediately. They're not huge investors either. Nobody in my family's been like a big investor that kind of way, and I still don't even fully understand how cryptocurrency works. Really, I never really took the time to look into it, but now I have a reason to. That was always my thought process too with investing in cryptocurrency, was like, if I can get like a basis, then I would do it. And my initial it wasn't going to be $100 given to me by the reigning MVP of the NFL. That was not anywhere in my realm of guesses. I just thought, you know what, I'll take the time to sit down, figure out how it works, and then figure out what's best for me. And then I got that, and I was just like, oh my God. And I got a couple friends at work who are into cryptocurrency, and they speak very highly of it, and they're very optimistic. And it's a chance thing. But I figured, if Aaron Rodgers is going to give me Bitcoin, which is just an insane sentence. I've been sitting like here for the past, it's 2 days now, and I've just been like looking at this screenshot that I took on my Cash App, and it just says Aaron Rodgers, and it's got the verification check, which means it is him. It says payment from Aaron Rodgers 12, that's his Cash App name, and it just says X amount in Bitcoin, which came out to like $100. And I was just looking at that, and I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I was freaking out. But yeah, and it was all over the news too. I was looking at the Cash App like news stories, and yeah, and it just said, all of them said like NFL MVP and future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers to invest X amount in Bitcoin and give away $1 million to the fans. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, what the hell? And it was just the coolest afternoon ever. Nothing could really bring my mood down, because it wasn't so much the fact that he sent me something that's, right now the market value for one Bitcoin is $60,000. And the way it works, from my knowledge, and don't quote me on this, but the way it works is that you can buy like fractions of a Bitcoin, or you can use computer like systems. I don't know how it works, but you can use it to mine for Bitcoin. I really have no idea how that part of it works, but I know you can like buy certain parts of a Bitcoin, and then it'll give you, once you get to like one whole Bitcoin, it's like a percentage of a Bitcoin. Like right now I have 0.0016 or something like that, just whatever he sent me. And if I say I wanted to invest $20 into it, that would bring the value of it up, and I would get, say then I'd have 0.0002 of a Bitcoin. I'd have a fifth, or not even a fifth, I think a thousandth, a thousandth of a Bitcoin. And basically what happens then is, you once you get one whole Bitcoin, whatever the market value for Bitcoin is, one Bitcoin, which is, I believe it's $60,000. It's $63,000 right now. Then you could sell that, and you could make $63,000. It's very confusing stuff. I think it's really cool, the fact that happened. But yeah, it's awesome. And so yeah, that was a really cool part of my day. I wanted to share with you guys because it kind of related to the sports world, and it was just something really cool that happened to me. So yeah, I liked Aaron Rodgers before. I like him even more now. I was joking to my brothers and dad that I was sitting there. I was like, Aaron Rodgers is officially the greatest quarterback of all time. In my eyes, you can't change my opinion on that ever. And they were like, why? Is it because he sent you $100? I was like, yes. It was just something that was really cool that happened. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. But we're going to go into week 8 here. I didn't recap week 7 because it's been 2 weeks now. But a lot has happened in week 8. It was a pretty crazy week, to be honest. And for as crazy of a week as it was, there was a lot of games that I thought I was going to get wrong, that I'll get into. But I only had 3 losses this week. I've done really well in my picks this year. I'm 80 and 41. I think that's a great record. I mean, that's probably the best one that I've had ever at this point in the season. It's always fantasy football, which in both of my fantasy leagues, I'm 2-6. I'm so trash. It's because every year I draft and my team just sucks. Like, the players I get just do not produce. Like DeAndre Hopkins, like, he's a great player and he's a fantastic asset to Arizona, but Arizona has so many weapons now that he's not a great fantasy player, and he was my first overall pick, so I can't trade him. I was screwed. And Nick Chubb didn't play great last week. He's my second overall pick that I drafted this year. And yeah, I'm trash in fantasy, but I threw a Hail Mary trade this week in one of my other fantasy leagues. I acquired Jonathan Taylor and Deebo Samuel. Yes, I acquired both of them in a pick or in a trade where I offered Zach Ertz to somebody who had a hurt tight end. Tim Patrick, who's been pretty decent all year. He's always had at least 11 to 12, if not more than that. He hasn't really gone below that except for the past couple weeks, but he's always been a very consistent wide receiver. And then I sent 2 of my running backs, Damian Harris, who I love. I really like Damian Harris. But he wasn't as great of a fantasy running back as Jonathan Taylor. And then I also sent him Zach Moss, and Zach Moss has been kind of like Tim Patrick and Damian Harris. He's in the 13 to 14 point consistency area. He usually gets that, and he'll sometimes boom for like 20, but it's very, very little. But I thought it was a good trade for me personally because I get Deebo Samuel, who is on pace to have a crazy season. He's rivaling Jerry Rice for most yards in a season by a Niners wide receiver. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Jonathan Taylor matched with Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb, has had to share some of the carries in this past game, and he didn't play as great against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does have a good defense. You still have to give them that. But they're playing Cincinnati next week, and I'm hoping that they're going to pick up the divisional win. And Nick Chubb will do pretty well because I think if I can match him and Jonathan Taylor, I think I'll be looking good. Because right now I have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback in this league. I have Nick Chubb as a running back. I'll have Jonathan Taylor. I have DeAndre Hopkins at a wideout, and then I had Emmanuel Sanders as my number 2, but Emmanuel Sanders had 0 points this week. He had no receptions. He was god awful. I was pissed. But I'm gonna have Deebo Samuel there. And then for tight end, I got rid of Zach Ertz, but I have Dawson Knox and Rob Gronkowski. They're both questionable, but Dawson Knox was, I think, the second best fantasy tight end for like a good 3 weeks there until they played Tennessee and he broke his hand. But he should be back soon. But I also have Gronkowski, who, when the Bucks get in the red zone, you know who Brady's going to, and that's Gronk. So I'm hoping that he'll pick up the pace and he'll come off an injury, and I'll be able to put one of them in. And then I have Elijah Mitchell at flex, who had a fantastic week against the Bears. He had 19.7 points this week, and he's had a phenomenal season all year. He's, well, not phenomenal. He was out a couple games, but he's been pretty solid. He had 16 points, 7 points, and then he missed a couple games. He had 8 points, and then he's had 16 and 19-point games back to back. And then I had the Bengals defense this past week, but I'm going to drop them because they're playing Cleveland. And then I had the Bengals kicker. But they just he didn't get me a ton, or he did get me a ton, but the Bengals defense at one point had 12 points for me, and then they ended the game with 1, which we will get into later because holy cow, what a that game was insane. But yeah, let's just hop into the games this week. Sorry to ramble on about Bitcoin and Aaron Rodgers and my fantasy team, but I thought I would start the podcast out this week with a little update on me and how things are going for me, and just kind of bring a little bit more personality to the podcast. I feel like I read these off, I give my takes, and then it's done. And I feel like we could do so much more than that. All right, so we're going to hop into Thursday night football recap. It was the Cardinals and the Packers. I had the Cardinals winning this game. I was riding the wave. I saw no reason for the Cardinals to lose this game when it came to the way they had been playing, and the fact that Aaron Rodgers' really only wide receiver left was Randall Cobb. Um, and yeah, I mean, he didn't really have a whole lot of help around him. He still had Aaron Jones, he still had Valdez Scantling, and Robert Tonyan left the game hurt, which is also not great for them. But he was in at the time, and it was like the offense was completely depleted. I'm pretty sure Bakhtiari was still out. They were missing a lot of their offensive line, and it was literally just Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb and Aaron Jones, and that was it. And they had A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon had a phenomenal night against the Cardinals. But I really thought the odds were stacked enough against the Packers to where I'd pick against the Packers, but I will never pick against Aaron Rodgers again. Not until they have some blowout loss, because I just think the Packers are that good. Sorry. And yeah, the Cardinals played a game very much unlike they usually do, and they played, I think, the same game that the Vikings did. But I'll hop right into the Vikings later once we get to Sunday Night Football. But for the first time, I think, all season, the Cardinals struggled moving the ball. Now, I know the Packers have like a good defensive scheme; they're well coached, but the Cardinals struggled to move the ball on a team that is still hurt on defense as well. I mean, they're missing their best cornerback in Jair Alexander. They're missing a lot. And the Cardinals struggled to move the ball, and I couldn't really dissect what it was. I mean, Kyler Murray, he wasn't rushed in the pocket all game. He wasn't making horrible decisions. And it was the last second interception was not his fault. I personally think, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, Kyler Murray should have waited for AJ Green to break out of his route, which I thought was a horrible take, because if you know how like a relationship between a wide receiver and a quarterback is supposed to work out, is that you're supposed to throw the pass before they break out of the route so that the corner doesn't know what the hell is going on. And AJ Green was just completely lost on the last play of the game. If you don't know what happened, basically the Cardinals were on the goal line, or not on the goal line, but they were in the red zone, getting ready to score, and all they needed to do was score a touchdown to win the game, and they were going for it for the win. And AJ Green was on the outside. I think it was just one-on-one, and Kyler Murray took the snap, and everybody went, and AJ Green was blocking instead of breaking out for the pass to possibly catch the game-winning touchdown. He just wasn't looking, and AJ Green wasn't looking. He blew the game, and Kyler Murray was just sitting there like, what the hell? So it was a very numbskull moment for AJ Green. I did feel bad for him, because it must have been a miscommunication somewhere, but it just unfortunately cost them the game. But I thought that Aaron Rodgers had a stellar performance. I thought he wasn't slinging it all over the place. He only had 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't do anything spectacular. But he played safe football, which Aaron Rodgers usually does. He usually doesn't, go slinging the football wherever he wants, and just and throws the ball away, unless we're talking about the Week 1 performance against the Saints. But we're not. And he usually doesn't do that, but he took very good care of the ball this game. And his running game was phenomenal. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones took over the Cardinals. The Cardinals couldn't stop them, and the A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones are becoming a very scary 1-2 punch at running back. A.J. Dillon is that hammer that you need on the goal line, and Aaron Jones is he's one of the best players in the game, man. I mean, if Derrick Henry didn't exist, I would argue that Aaron Jones could be the best running back in the league. He is a hard runner. He's elusive. He hits the hole, super hard. He can, stop. He can stop and stutter and then move right back on a dime. He can miss you. He can juke. He can do anything. He can catch really well. He can get yards after the catch. He's really good after contact. And I don't really see a whole lot of holes in Aaron Jones' game. Other than Derrick Henry, maybe Dalvin Cook. Even though Dalvin Cook didn't have a great performance this week, there's not a whole lot of people that are better than Aaron Jones, and I think the Packers are very lucky to have him and Aaron Rodgers and A.J. Dillon as well. And I think the Packers are going to, utilize that 1-2 punch that they have at running back a lot more now, considering the performance that they had on Thursday night. So yeah, I took an L in this one. I had the Cardinals over the Packers, but I'm probably not going to pick against the Packers for a while. All right, we're moving into Sunday football. It was a great day. There were some crazy-ass games. I don't know how I got some of these games right, but I did. But this one that I'm about to talk about now, I did not at all. Unfortunately, I didn't watch this game because once I saw the score, I was like, oh my God, I just missed out on one of the best games of the year. But the New York Jets pulled it off against the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe it was 5-2. Yeah, they were 5-2 before this. The 5-2 Cincinnati Bengals on top of probably the hardest division in the AFC North, go up against the 1-5 New York Jets, and this should be a steamroll, right? The Bengals should steamroll this Jets team. No questions asked. Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, is hurt, and the Jets are just not going to be able to handle the Bengals. The Bengals defense is going to beat up on the offense. The Bengals offense is going to run all over the Jets defense, and it's going to be it. And that's not what happened at all. Michael Carter, I believe his name was. Sorry. The Jets running back, he had a phenomenal day. He ran all over the Bengals. The Bengals just got absolutely pushed over by the Jets. And then Mike White, of all people, who the hell is Mike White? Throws for 400 yards against the Bengals and 4 touchdowns. What the hell is happening? I mean, I don't know what just happened, but the Jets beat the Bengals. And I guess you're gonna have one of those games every year, where a team, like a titan of a team, is gonna lose to somebody who is just absolutely bottom of the barrel. and I was freaking out because I had the Bengals defense. I was like, all right, this is a good play. The Jets offense isn't that good. They have a backup quarterback. This is gonna be really good. And like I said, they had 12 points for me in fantasy at one point, and then by the end of the game, they had 1 point. The only reason they didn't have negative points is because they had 2 interceptions early in the game. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this score as I'm watching. What game was I even watching? I don't even remember what game I was watching because I was so invested in this game. Or I was watching the 49ers and Bears. And I'm so invested in this game, and I'm watching the score every time they have like the check-in. I'm like, what the hell? Well, why are the Jets beating the Bengals? But I guess Mike White just absolutely had a career day. And it's not like the Bengals struggled to put up points. I mean, they put up 31. And yeah, it's the Jets where the Jets are not great on either side of the ball, really. I mean, the defense is okay, but they're not insane. So, and the Bengals have one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL. It was like they should be hanging up at least 30, and they did. The Jets just were able to keep up. I'm gonna watch the tape back on this one, see what the Jets did well to beat the Bengals. I don't know if it was the Bengals defense that was struggling, but this was absolutely a crazy game, and I can't wait to watch it. All right, moving on is the Titans and the Colts, a divisional game that meant so much more than people know. And what I also love is that this had the exact same score as the Jets-Bengals game. It was 34-31. This was a game that was huge. The Titans needed this win, really, because the Colts are playing good football right now. Carson Wentz is not looking like 2017, MVP season Carson Wentz, but he's looking good. He looks really good. He's taking care of the football. He's making decent throws. He's utilizing guys like Pittman who have a lot of talent, but haven't really been tapped into quite yet. And I think Michael Pittman could be a big-time receiver if he just gets the ball more. They have 2 great running backs in Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines. And like I said, Carson Wentz is playing awesome football. The defense showed up big, but unfortunately in this game they didn't show up that big. This game went into overtime. But the Colts are playing good football. The defense is playing better. Offense is starting to click, and they're starting to become the Colts team that we expected them to be once they got Carson Wentz and they had assembled. And we were like, all right, this looks like a good roster. Here we go. And then the injuries struck in the beginning of the season, and it was like, oh, okay, well, that sucks. But this game was crazy. I can't wait to watch the tape back on it as well. But I was watching highlights and stuff, and it was so back and forth. And it wasn't like Derrick Henry was eating up the Colts. Derrick Henry had less than 100 yards for the first time in this season, and he got injured. He's probably out for the season. I know at this point they might have confirmed that. By the time I'm recording this, I do not know because I heard about it, and I know that the Titans are working out Adrian Peterson to kind of replace Derrick Henry as that kind of that hammer kind of role. But I don't know if Derrick Henry is confirmed out for the season yet because I haven't seen any articles that say so. But if you know of one, send it my way. But the Titans were able to pull it off against the Colts. A.J. Brown had a huge day, and he came up big for the Titans. And Ryan Tannehill, when it mattered most, he came up. But this game meant a lot in divisionally because this is the second time the Titans have beat the Colts. So the Titans are probably going to win this division because the rest of the division is pretty sad with the Jags and the Texans. And there's no reason that the Colts or the Titans should lose to either of them moving forward. Titans with or without Derrick Henry. So yeah, this was a pretty important game in the division and pretty much wrapped up the division champion. All right, moving on to the Rams over Texans. The Texans are awful. They're the worst. This game was, I think, 35-0 at one point before the Texans decided to come alive and score 22 points, outscore the Rams 22-3. But really, there was no competition in this game. Cooper Kupp continues to be on an absolutely insane pace. He's on pace, I think, for 1,900 receiving yards in like 50 not 50 touchdowns. I think it's 29 touchdowns is what he's on pace for. Obviously those on pace projections are if he did the same thing every week, which is probably not going to be the case, but he's on an absolute tear this season. The Rams just waived Deshaun Jackson in this game. So yeah, they're going to be without him, but Deshaun Jackson has been past his, initial season hype, and he's, going to be moved on probably to the damn Texans for, whoever knows. The teams always seem like it's a good idea to sign Deshaun Jackson, and then he ends up getting dropped by that team, 3 weeks later. But yeah, the Rams won a game that they absolutely should have, and there was no surprise really. Next up, we have the Steelers and the Browns. The Steelers pulled this one out. I haven't watched this game yet. I'm looking forward to it. The Browns overall seem disappointing, and they're slowly becoming less and less of a playoff team and a superpower in the AFC. I think they got outcoached by the Steelers in this one, especially with it being such a close game. And this is not a good one, especially with the Browns. Pretty sure at the bottom of the division now. It's not good for them. Next up, we have the Eagles and the Lions. Sorry, the Eagles absolutely dominated the Lions in this game, 44-6, and it really showed the offensive power that the Eagles can be. I know defense as well. Only giving up 6 points, but the Lions have been competitive in most games this season, but not this one at all. The Eagles absolutely had their number. They were all over the place, and yeah, the Lions. I can't help the Lions. I don't think anybody can. Next up, the 49ers and the Bears. The 49ers had a very good game against the Bears, and Jimmy Garoppolo actually had 2 rushing touchdowns, which pissed me off too, okay, because I had Elijah Mitchell in this game, and I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for fantasy points because I was down, I think, by like 20 by the time Elijah Mitchell was done. But if I had those 2 touchdowns, if Elijah Mitchell had 3 touchdowns and probably over 150 rushing yards, he had like 157 or 137. He had those 2 touchdowns that Jimmy G took. Oh man, I would have been sitting so nice and pretty. But unfortunately, I wasn't. Jimmy Garoppolo played pretty well in this game, I thought. He's very close to being benched and probably never playing for another team again, as a starter at least, unless it's a team that is just super gone like Washington. But Jimmy G had a great game. Deebo Samuel had a huge 84-yard reception to really break away for the Niners in this game. The Niners had gone, I think it was 14 quarters without scoring a touchdown at Soldier Field in Chicago. But they finally did, and they scored, I think, 3 of them. No, it's 4 of them. And the Niners, this game was really close going into the half, and then the Niners just took off. And so did the Bears, honestly. Justin Fields showed off some really great scrambling. Everybody was freaking out. They're like, this is why. I'll tell you the scenario first. So Justin Fields is in the pocket. and he drops back. The play is blown up immediately. He's pushed out right, and there's like 7 defenders over there. So he turns back around, switches fields. Then he's on the left hash now, and then he breaks out left. He's got some running room. He gets the first down, and then next thing you know, he's crossing the goal line. And he had, I think it was a 21-yard run on a blown up play. And everybody was like, oh, this is what happened when Matt Nagy doesn't call the plays. And I'm not a Matt Nagy fan at all, but do you think that was a designed play? Do you think the design play was, hey, let the blocking collapse, have Justin Fields get flushed out right, and then Justin, go the other way? Like this is backyard football? I mean, like Jesus. It showed more with Justin Fields' ability to scramble and to make something out of nothing rather than Matt Nagy's play calling, because Matt Nagy was out. Matt Nagy, the head coach for the Bears, couldn't coach this game because he was out with COVID. But no, it was more Justin Fields being a phenomenal football player than Matt Nagy being a horrible coach, which he is. And yeah, I was really happy for Justin Fields in this game because the Niners defense is no pushover. They're not top of the league like they were 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. No, it was 2 years ago now. But they're still a formidable opponent. The front seven is, headlined by Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, just to start. Probably the best linebacker in the NFL and one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. And you got to deal with that. So yeah, I was really impressed with Justin Fields' performance to be able to handle the pressure of that kind of team playing up against him, and to be able to put up 22. It's a glimmer of hope for Bears fans. I really hope Chicago picks it up at some point, because I really do. I really love the atmosphere that Chicago fans bring, especially in the football arena, but also in the basketball area, and even Chicago Cubs. I just like the city of Chicago when it comes to sports. And yeah, I really hope that things pick up in Chicago. I hope Justin Fields is the guy for them. If he has like a Cam Newton-esque career, he's not Cam Newton's body build or anything like that. But if he has that kind of career where, he's a good rushing quarterback and he's not a terrible passer, then who knows? Maybe they'll be in the Super Bowl in a couple of years. We'll find out. That all goes up to, who they draft for, if they're drafting for the defense, if they're drafting for Justin Fields to have more help. I would draft offensive linemen if I were them, and I would sign Allen Robinson again, and Darnell Mooney. I would keep their wideouts, but that's why I'm not a GM. But yeah, Niners played a great game. They deserved the win. They had a lot of big plays, and the Bears defense couldn't really seem to stop them at all when it came to offense in the second half, and the Niners showed up when they needed to in the second half, and that was kind of something I was looking for them to do. As a lot of their games they've lost because they've maybe had a touchdown or two in the second half, but they haven't kind of exploded in the second half to take off like you see teams like Dallas or the Cardinals or the Packers or the Bucks or the Rams for that matter, and those are all top 5-6 teams in the NFL. That's the kind of thing you need to do when you need to win football games, that you need to be able to explode in the second half. And Niners played a great game, and Bears fans walked away sad with a loss, but they probably walked away happy seeing that their number, or their, I think it was like, what was it? Number, I can't remember what number he was. Justin, I think it was number 5 overall pick, Justin Fields, showing some hope. Next up, we have the Falcons and the Panthers. I got this game right as well. I had the Panthers winning this game against the Falcons. They won 19-13. This was in Atlanta, and this was a divisional game. You know how I feel about divisional games. Anything can happen. They always say any given Sunday, but I think divisional games affect that any given Sunday saying a little bit more. The Panthers and the Falcons, I didn't really get to watch this one, but from what I understood, the Panthers defense absolutely dominated the Falcons offense. Shaq Thompson was all over the place in this one, and it was Stephon Gilmore's first game at corner. And if they can keep it up, if they can keep an offense like the Falcons, who aren't bad, they were missing Calvin Ridley, and the story with Calvin Ridley is that he's taking some time off of football for personal issues. And as much as that might suck for the team themselves, or, I'm going to say fantasy owners, but it doesn't really matter when it comes to fantasy, like when it comes to stuff when the players need to take time off for themselves. That doesn't really matter. But, it affects a lot of people, somebody like Calvin Ridley being out, somebody as talented as he is. But, if you need to take that time, then you got to take that time. That it's not him backing out on his team. It's what he feels he has to do. I mean, he's a professional athlete who makes millions of dollars. I know he probably has a good life with how much money he makes, but there's a lot riding on him too, especially being the number one wide receiver, and I'm sure it takes a toll. And sometimes, and most of the time, a lot of the people that are listening and myself will never know that kind of pressure when it comes to being like an NFL superstar, that kind of thing. So yeah, Calvin really takes the time off. That's what he's got to do. It's unfortunate when it comes to, the excitement of the league, but it's what he's got to do. And yeah, so Panthers defense dominate the Falcons. That's all I have on this one. Bills over Dolphins. The Bills won 26-11 in a game against the Dolphins, and oh my God. So this past week I had traded for Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders in my fantasy, in my league specifically. He had been averaging like a good 15 points a week, and that's good. 15 points isn't a ton, but when you are averaging that a game, that's a really great production. He had 4 targets and 0 catches, and he had no points, no yards, no nothing. But Cole Beasley had a hell of a day. That's great for him. But the Bills continue to rattle off these wins and pick off these teams that they should. You have teams like the Chiefs who are losing to teams that they shouldn't. You have the Cardinals who can't seem to pull off a win against a team like the Packers. Sure, they beat the Rams, who are a Super Bowl contender as well. But you need to be able to pull off those wins. And the Bills are dominant. They're not just winning; they are dominating these teams that they're playing against. And there are very few teams in the NFL that I think want to see anybody but anybody that want to see the Bills. That are as good as them, that are as talented as them, and they're well coached too. That's the thing. A lot of times you'll have these great teams who are very talented, have really good young talent, but they're horribly coached. So that usually ends up costing them. But that's the thing, is they have all the pieces in place to make a deep run, possibly a Super Bowl run, with how wide open the AFC is, especially for them too. I like this Bills team. The Dolphins, their woes continue. They're not going to get Deshaun Watson today. The trade deadline is gone. Deshaun Watson is not going to be signed by the Dolphins, and Tua is in Miami, and I hope he stays there. At least for the remainder. I hope he doesn't get waived or something if he has one bad game, because I think Tua does have a lot of talent. I just don't think that I feel like the Miami office doesn't think that they're a good fit for him. Or for them, and I think they're just going to ride out this season and then probably release him, because this is his second year, so they'll either have to re-sign him or let him go into free agency. So we'll see what happens. The Patriots and the Chargers. What a game this was. The Patriots rattled off the 27-24 victory against the Chargers, a win that I don't think a lot of people saw coming at all, except for me. No, I'm just kidding. I had the Patriots in this one, and I was really proud to take the Patriots in this one. I was kind of like, probably a Hail Mary game. Patriots, they've been playing well, but are they good enough to beat a team like the Chargers? And hell yeah, they are. And it's all the schemes. And the defensive schemes, the offensive schemes, they're taking care of the football, and they're scoring when they have the opportunity to. They're being very opportunistic, and Mac Jones continues to be a solid replacement for Tom Brady. He is no Tom Brady. You can't replace that. But Mac Jones takes care of the football for the most part. He has rookie mistakes here and there, but you kind of have to give him a little bit of leeway when it comes to that. He usually his completion percentage is absolutely off the charts, and he's playing great for a rookie quarterback. And I would say he's probably the best one in this whole class, when I think a lot of people expected him to be the worst one. There's just so much talent in this rookie class, especially for quarterbacks, that I know I didn't really expect much out of Mac Jones this year, but he's actually turned out to be pretty well. And this Patriots team, they continue to play really good football, and they continue to look a lot like a playoff team, and I'm really excited about it. The Chargers, nonetheless, the Chargers put up 24 points. I mean, they were able to score, probably not as much as they would like to, and this game came down to the wire at the end. But really, the Patriots were able to run away with it. But the Chargers couldn't really get the run game going or the pass game. They had spurts here and there where they were able to score. But for the most part, Matt Judon had a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert, and Eckler couldn't really get going that much in this day. So I really hope the Chargers right the ship, because I really like this team. They're really talented. They're young, too. With Justin Herbert only being in his second year, they're probably going to sign him to a huge deal next year. And we'll have to see what happens. But, yeah, I hope the Chargers right the ship here, because it's starting to get a little scary, especially in a division that the Chiefs pulled off a win this week, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But in a division with the Raiders and the Broncos, who are not great teams, but they can pull off a win against you, especially being in the same division. And there's some division magic out there. So we'll have to see, but the Chargers got to right the ship pretty soon. Next up, the Seahawks and the Jags. The Seahawks pulled off the 31-7 win against the Jaguars. And I didn't get a chance to watch this game, but from what I heard and what I read, DK Metcalf was actually very pleased with Geno Smith. I was going to say Giannu Smith. It's Geno Smith. And it was a great game for the Seahawks, and it was a game that they needed to win too. They couldn't afford to not pull off a game like this. And going into the bye week, Russell Wilson should be back. He had the pin taken out of his finger this past week, and what it was I guess that he fractured a bone in his middle finger in that game against the Rams, and they had to put a pin in his finger and to straighten it out so that the bone would heal, and then he could take it out and the bone would be healed. And he's been practicing the whole time. He hasn't been throwing but he's been practicing. He has been doing grip drills just not to lose not to lose a step. He's been practicing keeping his body warm, as I like to call it, keeping his body loose, going to practice, going through the running drills, going through the hitting drills as much as he can, and just really doing everything he can. And that's just the guy Russell Wilson is. So I'm really excited for his return. They are playing Green Bay in their return, though, so I don't know if it's going to be a win when they come back. Who knows? They might pull something off. I mean, it is Russell Wilson and any given Sunday, but I'm not going to pick against the Packers in that one. But yeah, they were able to pull it off against the Jaguars. The Jaguars' woes continue, and I'm sure the Seahawks were really excited when they saw that Urban Meyer was still the head coach. All right, next up is the Broncos and the Washington football team. I didn't get a chance to watch this one, but I heard it was a really hard watch. And yeah, I don't really have a ton to say about this one. The Broncos pulled off the win when they really should have. Washington is a sorry team this year. Taylor Heineke is not really turning out to be the guy that they thought he would be. Not the Ryan Fitzpatrick placement that they thought, because I think Ryan Fitzpatrick plays a little bit better football than this. I'm going to definitely watch this game after the podcast here. But yeah, from what I heard, it was a really tough watch. Next up, probably the most exciting game of the week was the Buccaneers and the Saints. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to Trevor Siemian and the Saints. I don't think there's been a weirder sentence ever uttered in my life. The the New Orleans Saints played this game phenomenally. They have the Buccaneers number. They know how to make Tom Brady human. And on defense, especially, they know how to pressure him. They know, they know how to pressure him, how to make him uncomfortable, and what to do in those situations. And this is six consecutive games where the Saints have beaten the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers are the reigning champions, which is it's a crazy thing to think about. But the Saints played a great game. Trevor Siemian played with confidence too. Jameis Winston went down early in this game on the tackle that. Devin White was chasing down Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston ran out of the pocket, and Devin White chased him down. And he was called for a horse collar, which he didn't horse collar him. He didn't grab anywhere near the neck. And I don't believe a horse collar can be anywhere else because it's just your neck. But Jameis Winston fell. He just got tackled very odd. It's not like Devin White ran him over or anything. He just kind of grabbed onto him with one hand and just kind of flung him. And Jameis Winston just landed odd on his leg. He came back out in crutches. And then Trevor Siemian, of all people, came out, and he started slinging the football like there was no tomorrow. Trevor Siemian was I just can't get over how much confidence this guy played with. And the return of Mark Ingram in New Orleans was fantastic. And the duo of Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara is something that I've been missing in my life, and I'm very happy to have back. Um, the Buccaneers, they put up 27. I mean, I don't know what else you want from them. Tom Brady had a very a very very sad last second pick six to have the Saints with the go ahead, and the game was just over. They were down by 9 with a minute left, and I came back because I left for a second. I came back, and I was like, yeah, this game's over. It was very interesting to see, and I'm sure it really shakes Tom Brady to the bone knowing that he's lost to the Saints 4 times. Or no, 5 times, sorry. And that he's got to face him at least one more time. And hopefully that'll turn around for the Bucs that time. But it just really seems like the Saints have the Buccaneers number, and so far they've been cashing in every single time. Sunday Night Football, Dallas versus the Vikings. I cannot tell you how weird of a week this is for the NFL. We have Trevor Siemian playing. Okay, here are some of your starting quarterbacks. Okay, it's Trevor Siemian. It's Cooper Rush. It's Geno Smith. It's Mike White. I mean, like these are some of the most random quarterbacks in the world. Shit, I can't even remember some of them. It's just insane. I really have no idea what the hell is going on with these teams. But Cooper Rush was put in last second for the Dallas Cowboys as Dak Prescott went down with a calf injury. It's nothing serious, but he injured his calf in the Patriot win a couple weeks ago, and they had the bye week, and they thought Dak Prescott might come back. That wasn't the case. They thought that if they were going to take a week off, and like a mid-season-esque game. And if they were going to take a chance in Dak getting hurt in this point, they were like, yeah, we're not going to do that again. And so they decided to sit him out, have Cooper Rush played, and Cooper Rush threw for nearly 400 yards. What? He threw for nearly 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. What? Like what? Like that's not supposed to happen. Like once I saw Cooper Rush was coming in, or he was going to be the quarterback, I was like, okay, he's not horrible, but he's not Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a game changer for the Cowboys. He can do things that obviously nobody in the NFL can do, and he's probably the best quarterback in the NFL. And I said it. And they're playing a Vikings team that I'm pretty sure had no inactives. And you still had a healthy Justin Jefferson. You had a healthy Adam Thielen. You had a healthy Dalvin Cook, a healthy Kirk Cousins. You had a healthy defense. I think the only inactive person was Irv Smith. You have a healthy defense except for Patrick Peterson, who was out as well. So maybe the inactives list was a lie. But when I looked at it before the game, I didn't see any. So that's weird. But Patrick Peterson's not going to have that much of an effect on this game. He's not going to have that much of an effect on Cooper Rush. And Cooper Rush had his woes in the beginning. He threw a numbskull interception in the beginning of the game. He's not without fault, but he had a unbelievably well thrown ball to Amari Cooper on a fade to get the go-ahead touchdown and win the game essentially for Dallas. The Dallas running game was essentially taken away. Ezekiel Elliott still showed up big at the end of the game on a flat route, and he broke a tackle on a crucial third down to set up the first and get the first down to set up the Amari Cooper touchdown that ended up winning Dallas the game. But Dallas effectively wiped out one of the most high-powered offenses in the game. And I'm saying this like I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan, but Kirk Cousins has been playing phenomenal football this year. And the Dallas defense, who is quote unquote not that good when they were playing quote unquote bad teams, and they held a great offense like this to 16 points and allowed the offense, their own offense, who was missing one of their probably most important player. And they held them off enough so that they could win. What the hell is going on? And this Vikings team, man, I don't know what's wrong with them, but they just can't pull it out. They cannot go ahead and carry themselves to a win like this. They always have these kind of games. They're like the Seahawks. They're like the Cardinals, where they have great games here and there, but then they just shut down. I have no idea what their issue is, but they got to fix it soon. Monday Night Football, the Chiefs. I put in my notes here. I put the Chiefs need to beat the Giants, and they did. It was very close, but they did. This game ended 20-17 in favor of the Chiefs. And this game, I thought for a minute, wasn't going to end that way. As in the first, I think it was the first possession, or no, it might have been the second possession of the game. Patrick Mahomes throws an interception in the end zone, and you're thinking, oh, another Patrick Mahomes interception. But this wasn't really Mahomes' fault as of that much, I would say. He's had quite a few that aren't his fault, but he had a weird play where he had to escape the pocket, and he ran up and jumped and threw the ball at the same time over two defenders, and then hit one of the receivers in the hands, but he threw it so hard in such a small area that it bounced right off his hands and then went up, and then the Giants players caught it in the end zone and intercepted it. So kind of Pat Mahomes' fault, kind of not. He threw it really hard at the player when they were maybe 10 yards away from each other. But he was also in an odd situation. And then, in Daniel Jones, vintageness, I talk Daniel Jones up once. And then in a vintage moment, he throws an interception the very next possession on the second play of the possession. He throws one right to Anthony Hitchens. I believe it was Anthony Hitchens. He throws one right away. I'm like, what the hell is going on, Daniel? You have a chance to go down the field and score on the Chiefs, who have been struggling all season, and you throw an interception? And it's not like it was the wide receiver's fault on this one either. This was a ball that was in the defender's reach. I always say that if it's within the defender's reach and they do intercept it, it's your fault. It's the quarterback's fault. But if it's off the receiver's hands, if you hit them, if the receiver touches it, they should be able to catch it. That's what they train to do. I'm sorry that some balls are harder to catch than others, but they are trained to do that. And sometimes they don't always do it, which sucks. But that's not the quarterback's fault. And this one was totally Daniel Jones' fault. But other than that, Daniel Jones, I thought, had a fine game. He's a super athletic quarterback. I've got to put together the past couple weeks, and he's playing good football. But once again, the Giants are just too hurt. Kadarius Toney had a good play, and a good passing play, and he had a good game. He's a very effective wide receiver, and he's really good. He's shifty, he's fast, he can catch, he has great hands, he can throw, he can do it all. He's an offensive weapon. The Giants got creative with their plays. Like I said, the Kadarius Toney pass. There was what was it? I think it was a 30-yard completion to what the hell was his name? It was John Ross. For some reason, I couldn't think of him, but there was this crazy play where Daniel Jones heaves the ball downfield to John Ross, who's being covered by Daniel Sorensen, who has just been having a terrible season this year. And John Ross has a very gnarly catch, but he's also getting massive PI committed on him at the same time by Daniel Sorensen, and it was just a great catch. But the Chiefs were able to pull it out at the end, as they should have. But this game was way too close, and the issues for the Chiefs just continue to be. They're not as electric on offense as they used to be. They're making boneheaded plays on offense, and they're making dangerous plays on offense that if they'd been playing against a better team, I don't know if they would have been able to pull this one out. And they've really got to figure it out soon. All right, we're going to move into my picks for Week 9, and then we're going to move into Power Rankings right after this. All right, welcome back. I'm going to go over my picks for this week, and then we're going to hop into our Power Rankings, and we'll be out of here. All right, Week 9 for Thursday Night Football, I got the Colts and the Jets. I'm going to take the Colts in this one. I'm not getting too high on the Jets and Mike White. I think every sub has a great game, and I think the Colts are just playing better football. I think they're a better team. I think they're more talented, and this one is not really that hard to pick. Next up, first Sunday football game, I got Dallas and the Broncos. I'm going to take Dallas in this one, assuming that Dak Prescott is okay, and that he comes back and plays. I think Dallas is just going to continue to ride their wave of great plays, solid defense, and against a Broncos team that's beginning to be more and more hurt on defense as the season goes along. I don't really see Dallas not winning this game, but then again, you always have those games that you're gonna lose, and for Dallas, that's usually the Vikings that they end up losing against. Dalvin Cook usually goes off, but that wasn't the case last week. So I'm gonna take Dallas in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos were able to pull it off. Next up, I got the Saints and the Falcons. I'm going to take the Saints in this one. Trevor Siemian showed a lot of confidence throwing the ball, as I've said. And if he keeps that confidence and he keeps throwing it like he has been, and if Sean Payton is somehow the quarterback whisperer that we think he is and that a lot of people have thought he has been over the years, which quarterback whisperer is a dumb term, but it's just he has something with quarterbacks. He just does something right. And if he can turn Trevor Siemian into a somewhat good temporary replacement until maybe he decides to play Taysom Hill, maybe he decides to trick Trevor Siemian. I don't know yet. I haven't run into it just yet. I would imagine probably goes with Taysom Hill, but he could stick with Trevor Siemian. Either way, I think the Saints defense is good enough to stop really the only good part about the Falcons, and that's their offense. I'm taking the Saints in this one. Next up is the Patriots and the Panthers. I'm going to ride the Patriots wave. This Patriots team is good. They play good football. They play calculated football, and they just get the job done. I'm going to take the Patriots in this one over the Panthers because the Panthers have just been so up and down, and I feel like that's a perfect team for the Patriots to take advantage of and really just have a blowout win. Next up, I have the Ravens and the Vikings. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one because I think the Ravens know how to win. And the Vikings know how to win also, but I feel like they are so, like they're starting to lose a little bit of identity for themselves. They're a good offensive team. They're a really good offensive team. But the offense isn't consistent anymore. It's just not. This past Dallas game, I know it's really one game, and everybody was saying, oh, the Vikings are the best, or the 3-3 record doesn't reflect how good the Vikings are, and that they were supposed to beat the Cowboys this weekend, but it didn't happen. So I'm starting to wonder if the Vikings are having a little bit of an identity issue. Are they an actual good team and they're just struggling, or are they maybe not that good? But we do know that the Ravens are that good. We do know that. And the Ravens are that team, and they are one of the Super Bowl contenders and one of the title contenders. And I think it's going to be really tough for a team like the Vikings, who I think are personally struggling right now, especially after the loss against Dallas. I think that they're struggling hard. I think it's going to be hard for them to overcome a team like the Ravens. Next up is the Bengals and the Browns. I think the Bengals bounce back from a really tough win against the Jets. The Browns are, like I said, slowly fading for me as a solid playoff prospect. I love the heart that Baker Mayfield plays with. I love that he doesn't stay out for more than a week because he just loves to play. I saw a video this week where Baker Mayfield got pushed out of bounds and ran over by 3 different defenders who just, I guess, straight up didn't like him. They pushed him out of bounds. It was unnecessary, unnecessary roughness. And Baker Mayfield, instead of staying on the ground and complaining about the call, he got right up after he ran 10 yards for first down. Got right up and just started freaking out with the crowd, and was showing that heart, that passion, and that's what I really like about Baker Mayfield. And I hope that he, as he gets older, develops into a better quarterback. But I think the situation in Cleveland right now isn't great with, especially somebody like Odell Beckham Jr. Just today, Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad put up a 3-minute video of all the times that Baker Mayfield had Odell Beckham Jr. open and didn't hit him with the football. So I think things are a little bit shaken up in the Browns kind of culture and locker room area, and I think that they're going to go up against a team like the Bengals, who I think are going to be a little pissed off that they lost to a team like the Jets, and I think the Bengals are going to take this one, and it's a very crucial division game. Next up, I got the Bills and the Jags. I think it's just going to be another run at the mill for the Bronco Bills. The Bronco Bills, holy shit! I don't know. I don't know what I just said because I didn't want to rhyme mill and bill. I didn't want to do that, but I think the Bills are just going to absolutely steamroll this Jags team. I think it's just going to be another day at the office. The Bills have kind of an easy schedule this year, but I don't want people to think that they're not that good, though, because they are that good with how well that they've been playing, especially beating a team like the Chiefs, who obviously have been struggling, but they've had a hard time getting over. They have an easier schedule this year, but the Bills are the Bills, man. When they go up against the Colts later on, you'll see how good they are. Next up, I got the Texans and the Dolphins. I'm taking the Texans in this one. Davis Mills is not playing great football this season. I had a hot take a couple weeks ago where I was like, Davis Mills playing pretty good football. I lied. Okay. He's thrown 1,300 yards, which is, respectable. He has a 66% completion percentage, but he has more interceptions than touchdowns, which I don't think a lot of people expected them not to. But I'm taking the Texans in this one because I think this is 2 teams that are really struggling, and I usually like to pick the Dolphins. I don't know why, but the Dolphins attract me. Tua Tagovailoa is I really like him. I really like the way he plays football. But I'm gonna pick against the Finns this week. I'm gonna take the Texans. I have the Giants and the Raiders. I think the Giants pull this one off. I think Daniel Jones has a phenomenal game. I think this one's going to mirror a lot like the Saints game that they had earlier this year. And I think they're going to beat the Raiders, and the Raiders are going to get a gut punch here from the Giants. And I think the Giants start to heat up a little bit to show what they can be. But I don't think they're going to exceed more than that, than what showing their potential, what they could be, rather than actually becoming that, because they're just too deep in the division now, and the Cowboys are too far ahead. They could maybe play for a wild card spot, but I don't really see it happening. I don't think they could beat Philadelphia, but we'll find out in the coming weeks. Next up, we got the Chargers over the Eagles. I think the Chargers have a bounce back win against the Eagles. I think this one's a high scoring game, probably like the Chargers and Browns one, where maybe it's like 30 something to 30 something. Maybe it's like 41 to 39 kind of thing. I think the Eagles are going to throw all over the Chargers, but I think Justin Herbert's going to have a day, and I think him and Mike Williams are probably going to connect for at least 2 touchdowns this week. Next up, I got the Packers and the Chiefs. I'm taking the Pack. I told you early in the podcast, Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. He's the best of all time. And I have my personal reasons for saying that. But no, I'm taking the Packers. I think, especially after how they dethroned the only undefeated team in the NFL, and how they have just been playing so phenomenal with how hurt that they are, and the fact that they're on I believe it's 7 win streak right now. I don't see how you can pick against them right now, especially with the Chiefs team that barely beat the New York Giants this week. It's a pretty easy pick for me. Next up, I have the Cardinals and the 49ers. I'm going to take the Cards in this one. It's a division game. It's a big division game. This is the second time the Cards are meeting the 49ers. And I think if they can sweep the division game, the division against the Niners, I think they're in a pretty good spot to win the whole division. And they really need it to kind of break away from the Rams a little bit more, because the Rams, now that the Cardinals have lost, are right there with them. And you'll see that when we get to the power rankings here in a minute. But yeah, I got the Cardinals beating the 49ers this week. For Sunday Night Football, I got the Rams and the Titans. I'm going to take the Rams because Derrick Henry's out. And even though Adrian Peterson might play, it's not super short notice, especially since they just signed him today. Or not today, but I think it was yesterday on Monday. But I think the Rams are just more complete, and I think the Titans are scrambling a little bit. And I think the Rams are kind of going to be a little bit more relaxed, have a better game plan, and I think they're going to pick apart the Titans. But don't be surprised. Actually, don't be surprised if the Titans pull this one off. The Titans have had a tendency to beat the bigger opponents when they really shouldn't, like the Bills and the Chiefs this year. But they probably won't, because Derrick Henry's out. But, who knows? Don't count out the Titans. Monday Night Football, we got the Steelers and the Bears. I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. The Bears are a young team, and they're getting better, but I think the Steelers are starting to finally get back to form, and I think they're going to take this one against the Bears. All right, moving into our power rankings, we're going to go through this not quick, but, at a faster pace. Number 1, I put the Green Bay Packers. This one is bias aside. This is Bitcoin aside. I like this Packers team the way they're playing right now. They probably will not be number 1 next week. But I think they're just playing really great football right now. I think Aaron Rodgers is playing awesome football. I think the defense is playing great. And the Packers are getting it done with players who you probably never heard of besides Randall Cobb. Robert Tonyan being out sucks. That really hurts them offensively. But I think, like I said earlier, they have a great running duo. They have great quarterback, great coaching. Matt LaFleur is a great coach. And I don't really see how the Packers could lose right now, especially against a Chiefs team, like I said earlier, that's really having a hard time this season. They probably won't be number 1 next week, especially if the Bills can really dominate a team like the if they can really, really, really dominate a team like the Jags. But I don't really see the Packers staying here for very long. But I thought with the performance that they had the past week, I think they deserve the number 1 spot right now. I think they're the hottest team in the NFL right now. Number 2, I have the Buccaneers. Even though they had a hard loss to the Saints, the Bucs are still the Bucs. They're fantastic. They're highly talented. They're really well coached. I don't see how you can't, have them at least in your top 3. Number 3, I got the Bills. Number 4, I got the Cardinals. Number 5, I got the Rams. Cardinals dropped from number 1 this week because I think they got a little exposed. I think, they played good defenses before. But I think that they have shown that they can be beaten, but I think it showed that they can also be slowed down. This wasn't a typical Cardinals game where they're scoring 30 plus points. They did that quite a few times this season. I'll say 25 plus points. But, and it showed that they can be stopped. And that's the way you beat great players. And Kyler Murray, if he keeps it up, he's going to be a great player. But you also got DeAndre Hopkins out there, who's a great player. You have AJ Green out there who, even though he's out of his prime, he's a great player. Rydell Moore, he's gonna be a great player. Zach Ertz is a great player. They have great players on their defense. And Budda Baker's a great player. J.J. Watt's out for the season as well. The Cardinals are not looking great right now. This was a bad week for the Cardinals. So yeah, I had to drop them a couple spots. Rams are sitting nice at number 5. They'll probably climb here next week. I had to put the Cowboys at 6 after that great performance where, you couldn't say like, oh, offense won this game. It was the whole team. It was a great team effort that won the Vikings game. So I think they deserve to go up from number 7 to number 6. Number 7, I have the Ravens, 8, the Bengals, 9, the Titans, and then 10, the Chargers. I brought the Chargers down from number 8, especially the the loss against the Patriots. It really hurt them pretty bad. Number 11, I have the Raiders, 12, the Patriots, 13, the Saints, 14, the Chiefs. I put the Patriots over the Saints, mainly based off of the quarterback injuries. Sure, they were able to pull off the win against the Bucs, but there's no saying that, whoever they decide to put at quarterback, Trevor Siemian or whoever, is going to play that well again. There's no saying that. There's hope. I hope they do, but there's no saying that that's going to happen. So that's why I had to put the Patriots over them, because the Patriots are not nearly as hurt, and they're playing similar brand of football. 15, I have the Browns. 16, I have the Vikings. 17, Colts. And 18, 49ers. I really like this portion of the list. I think the Vikings and the Colts could probably go above the Browns at this point, with just how much I think animosity is going around. But I like the way this is sitting. Even though the Niners are less of a team than I think the Steelers are. I think the Steelers are so on and off. I have the Steelers at 19. I think the Steelers are so on and off that I think the Niners are just above them in the power rankings, but really it could flip-flop like that. 20, I have the Broncos. 21, I have the Panthers. 22, I have the Eagles. And 23, I have the Bears. Broncos, Panthers, and Eagles are really, they're all in the same spots to me. Because I can't definitively say that the Eagles could beat the Panthers or the Broncos. I just can't definitively say that. I can't say, and the Eagles did beat the Panthers, don't get me wrong. Okay, they did. But I'm not saying that they could do it multiple times, This 3 right here, this section of the power rankings right here is really difficult to differentiate for me. 24, I have the Giants. 25, I have the Seahawks. 26, I have the Falcons. I could put the Seahawks a little higher on this list, especially if Russell Wilson comes back and say they pull off a miracle win against the Packers when Russell Wilson comes back after this bye week. But right now they're at 25 because I think even with Geno Smith, I still think that they're better than the bottom 6 or 7 teams. And I think the Giants they're at 24 because I think they're playing a better brand of football, and I think the Daniel Jones era is an odd one. I don't know if he'll stay in New York after this year because he has those on and off performances, but we'll see. I don't expect the Giants to keep him around. I wouldn't mind seeing him go to a team like the Panthers or the Broncos, a team that could really use a really good athletic quarterback like that. Or even the Steelers for that matter, because Ben Roethlisberger is probably going to retire this past year. But we'll talk about where Daniel Jones could go in another episode. 26, I have the Falcons. 27, I have the Jets. 28, I have the Washington football team. 29, I have Jacksonville. 30, I have the Dolphins. 31, I have the Lions. And 32, I have the Texans. I think the Texans made the biggest drop out of any team so far this season. They went from number 27 to 32. All right, guys, and that's going to conclude this episode of the BoomTeam podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I had a great time recording this podcast. Make sure to check out the TikTok. It's a BoomTeam podcast, all one letter or all one word, and they're all lowercase. Just BoomTeam podcast. Look that up. You'll see the logo. Click on it. Give it a follow. Also follow that handle on Instagram and Twitter as well. It's just BoomTeam Podcast, all lowercase, all one word. And then follow me on Instagram at dakota.nutter. And if you also look up Dakota Nutter on Twitter, you'll find me there as well. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you guys on the flip side.